What did someone do to make you hate them instantly?
I was dating a man I had only recently met and I had finally invited him to my house. We were in the garden and there's a frog that hides down the side of the wall, he's always lived there. I showed him where to look and see the frog peering out. He got his drink of Coke and threw it on the frog and started laughing as if it was funny. I threw him out and rinsed the frog with water. He couldn't understand why I was upset and why I had blocked him. What a prat.
I hope the frog is doing well.
He seems good.
You care if I throw this out your window? Yes, and I hate you for even asking that. Don't throw your trash into the street.
I know you probably mean like an empty bottle while you were in your car, but my first thought was you in your room and this dude just picks up a random trinket or book and asks if he can throw it out the window for fun or something. Cheeky smiley face.
I was walking through an airport terminal when I heard a woman tell the child in her stroller, "This is exactly why no one loves you." I still think about that kid.
Oh man, I'd want to yell back, that's not true. Your mum is just AC.
Filmed himself having sex with a good friend of mine. She had no idea she was being filmed, then invited some of her coworkers to watch the film. He had several videos of other women he had filmed without their consent. Garbage human. Yes, police and his now former employer were notified.
Piss all over my toilet seat.
My old roommate's boyfriends would do this all the time. And there would be pee along the sides of the toilet and floor. She said it was okay because guys have a really hard time aiming, so we shouldn't make a fuss about it.
Insult me and threaten to take me to court because I wouldn't cover up their own unethical behavior.
Bonus points if their behavior would take them to court if it comes to light.
She kept insulting her friend in front of me. I think she thought it was cute or something. And it was clear her friend was feeling uncomfortable about it, even at one point telling her to stop, which just made her repeatedly insult her more. Now whenever she comes by to talk I get this shiver of disgust down my spine.
Friend came into my apartment and immediately kicked my cat. He's no longer my friend.
I've done this but not on purpose. I went to my friend's house and was walking across the living room. The cat walked across my path and I caused the cat to slide a good distance across the room. I told my friend immediately, he then asked me how much distance I got. I should say that the cat loved being slid across the room, I just did it unintentionally. I brought some cheap plastic bowling pins and now it's a game between them.
Laughed at my budgie dying. I still hate that bitch. More than 13 years later. F you Justine, you heartless bitch.
She called me and begged to borrow some money from me and her brother without her husband knowing. She claimed it was for bills and groceries but it was all for booze and meth. I just casually mentioned them paying us back to her husband and he had no idea what I was even talking about. It was all news to him. They made more money than my husband and I at the time, but she was constantly asking us for more money. And she always tried to make it out like I was the problem for seeing right through her bullpoo.
That's a common addiction trait. Projection.
Back when I was starting out as hospital security we came into shift briefing. Outgoing supervisor informs us that a team member is in psych. He wouldn't put up with any jokes or any bullpoo about it or he would get you fired. I respected that because I didn't like this supervisor. Then his supervisor came in. Started treating it like it was the funniest thing in the world to have a guard in psych. Him and the lower supervisor, who had just gone on a rant about how he wouldn't stand for this kind of thing, were laughing their asses off about it. I have my own mental health issues and I knew every guard present, if suffering a mental health crisis, would no longer trust coming into the hospital for help for fear of ridicule. Hated the ranking supervisor for that and reaffirmed my dislike of the clearly spineless lower supervisor.
Isn't that a serious patient confidentiality breach?
Although I wouldn't be surprised if this guy spread it around to others. In this case no. They were in our psychiatric secure area which we have a very proactive role and the team is always aware of which patients occupy the rooms there.
Friend of a friend came out with us to a sports bar. Waitress gave him ranch instead of blue cheese for his wings and he screamed in her face. I paid my bill, gave her a really generous tip, and apologized for his behavior to her right in front of him. He just sneered at me as I left. Told my buddy to make sure me and that guy never saw each other again. Treating someone in a service job like poo is terrible. Doing it for an honest, simple to fix mistake is even worse. Never saw that guy again and I still wanna effing smack his face.
We who once worked in the customer service industry salute you.
I worked in a grocery store for 5 years and dealt with my fair share of mean customers, so it was nice being able to stand up for someone in that spot.
A co-worker who asked me my zodiac sign, and when I told them, they got actually upset they weren't the only Capricorn at work anymore. She was 32 years old too.
People don't age out of stupid.
Very true, sometimes I forget that.
A few years ago I was having a small party with some friends and extended friends at my house, right? And this random chick who was a friend of a friend of a friend steals my chair. No, I don't mean she sat where I was sitting. I have a pretty large garage, about the dimensions of a house, and the party started there. I had laid out about 50 plastic party chairs that I rented for the party. Only about 40 or so people came though. So anyway, eventually the party gets led inside my house, and she said she had to leave early, and I didn't think much of it. But the next day when the guys came to collect their chairs, one is missing. I was shocked and counted them myself, and one was indeed missing, so I had to reimburse them for it. Same day I go to check the garage security camera, and I eventually see this bitch picking up one of the effing chairs and trying to fit it into her car for a good 10 minutes. I effing told everyone about it. Filthy chair thief. Edit. I'm sorry everyone who's asking to see the vid. This was back in December 2017. The vid is long gone.
I hope the chair stealing WS don't steal any of our chairs.
As a disclaimer, I already did not like him when this happened, but this moment solidified how much of a piece of poo human being he is. At my grandmother's funeral, some of us were standing around at the funeral home waiting for everyone to arrive. My cousin and her husband show up, and I wave them over. My cousin veers off to go see my grandmother in her casket, and her husband joins the group. We exchange a couple of, "Hey, how are you?" that kind of thing. A minute goes by and my cousin walks over to us crying after having seen the casket. Her husband looks at her face and goes, "OMG, how are already crying? We literally just got here." He had no remorse and had the nerve to glance at the group of us in that, "Am I right?" kind of way. You can imagine the disbelief that I felt when he started shaming my cousin for crying at her own grandmother's funeral. He didn't even try and console her. What a piece of poo.
Smoked meth around a baby.
A buddy of my father once smoked WD while sitting next to me when I was still a baby. When my mum saw it, she kicked him out of the house in a manner that he didn't dare to show up again for 16 years.
At a party with friends, ended up chatting with some gal. We talk about life, our boyfriends, and she casually drops, when I mention my 2 rescue dogs, that she used to have a rescued cat, but since her new BF didn't like cats, she just left the cat in her old flat until it starved to death, cause those rescue people are so effing judgmental, you know? I just got up and left. It was that or slap the teeth out her face with a brick.
Greater than those rescue people are so effing judgmental, you know? They are not. You can literally just give it back if it's not working out. I mean, don't go frivolously adopting cats and wasting everyone's time, but if it isn't working out, just give it back.
Ignored all the times I said no to him nicely, and then when I finally blew up and got angry at him, he had the audacity to say, "Then why didn't you just say no?"
OMG, yes. I just had this happen when I told a guy he hasn't respected me, turning him down nicely over years, and I'll never be interested in him. MF had the gall to say he didn't recall me ever rejecting him, but a simple no would have been clear. Ripped my brother's hearing aids out of his ears, threw them in the bus trash, and wouldn't let him get back there until we told the bus driver. 29 years later and I still hate your ass, Brittany D.
I hate you too, Brittany D.
Ran down my wife while she was walking our dog. Drives off as people run to help. Drives to a caravan park and tries to park but f's it up. Car rolls against a tree and gets stuck, so he gets out and runs, leaving his girlfriend behind in the passenger seat because she's in the middle of an overdose. Hides for 2 weeks before the police find him and have him charged. Gets out on bail. One of the bail conditions is no driving. Is driving down the road, sees a police car and panics, drives through a roundabout, as in straight line through middle of it, police notice and pull him over, go directly to jail for being a dumb C. Happened nearly 2 years ago. Wife still hasn't fully recovered, can't walk properly, battled with prescription DG, which she beat, so proud of her, and struggles with depression. F that guy, he can f-ing rot.
I'm so sorry this has happened in your wife's and your life. You don't deserve it, no one does. I wish you guys the very best as time moves forward.
Telling funny stories of abusing animals.
I used to hang out with a kid that seemed very ordinary, until one day when he recounted what he did last night through fits of laughter. He told me he'd went up to cows in a field and shot them in their eyes with a BB gun at close range.
Someone I used to know smacked their 2-year-old really hard, like really effing hard, in the face just because he accidentally spilled a bowl of Cheerios, no milk, on the floor. Obviously the kid started to cry and I was absolutely mortified.
I had a former friend do the same thing to his 4-year-old son. Some ketchup fell from the boy's hot dog onto the carpet and his father smacked him in the side of the head at full force. Without hesitation, I did the same to my former friend and didn't pull the blow at all. He landed on the floor and when he got his could talk again, it took a while, he asked me why the hell I did that. I told him that it was to teach him a lesson about consequences, and if he ever touched his child again, it wouldn't end in a slap. Edit. Edited because it read like I hit the kid as well.
My BF at the time had his sister come from Brazil to live with us while she got on her feet in the US. We picked her up from the airport and she immediately started talking poo about me in Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese but I speak Spanish and could understand enough to know she was talking about me. Not to mention it's rude AF to exclude someone from your conversation when it's only 3 people. Edit to answer some questions. The reason she didn't like me is because she hated white Americans, the American culture and was extremely upset her brother was dating one. My BF asked her to chill out a few times but overall he said he didn't want to get involved because he didn't want to cause issues between his parents and her. This caused a lot of issues with us. She stayed for I think 8 months. I threatened to break the lease if she didn't leave. She left but there was too much resentment, friction and after the lease ended I moved out of state. English was her first language and she was completely fluent in it. Their mother was originally from Brazil and had them move from the US to Brazil when they were in high school.
Turn to boyfriend, you forgot to mention that your sister's a bitch.
Smoked in my car. I was picking up some mates that were stuck in another city, ended up giving a lift to some rondo and they were drunk, was a friend of a friend and they were smoking outside when I picked him and my friend up. I told him, no smoking in the car. He then puts out his cigarette and jumps in. Halfway down the motorway I hear a lighter spark up and say, "Are you smoking?" His response, "Yeah, but we're on the motorway and I know it's illegal for you to stop." So I parked up in the hard shoulder and told him, "You can walk, or you can put that out. And if I have to drag you out of this car I will." He tossed the cigarette out of the car and was an ass the entire way back.
He wanted to be petty and inconsiderate for helping his stranded ass. I would have left his ass on the side of the motorway with no room for negotiation.
Total scum molested my sister, went to court. I went to court to give testimony for her. Church he was involved with made a large offer to my sister and she turned it down. She followed through with the trial. It was never about the money for her. It was justice. Dude is rotting in hell right now. They lost the case. Sister was awarded double what the church offered, but it does not matter. She still cries about it. It affected her entire life. She did not want the money. She wanted the satisfaction of the church admitting that they are scum and were attempting to cover it up, for decades. Moved this POS from church to church. Mom doesn't understand why we are not religious. I would spit on his grave if I knew where it is.
Findergrave.com just saying. I've got some dark ones but since everyone else has that side of it covered I'll send one out that is less effed up. 5 of us took my buddy, let's call him T, out for a bachelor night before his wedding. Pretty much just pubs, cigars and dinner. One guy the first didn't know, let's call him Jay, couldn't stop talking about how much money he makes and how hot Dua Lipa is. So we go to the cigar shop and it's like $900 worth of cigars and we know T doesn't really make a ton of money so we all pitch in equal amounts except for Jay whatever I guess Jay doesn't like cigars. Then we go to the pub where Jay doesn't pay again. Getting a little pissed off at this point but F it, it's T's night. So dinner rolls around and Jay keeps hardcore hitting on the waitress. Let me paint a picture to you of Jay. He's about 5 feet 5 inches, dress clothes, blundstones, long peacoat with the collar popped and a backwards ball cap that is sitting on the top of his head with the snapback practically covering his eyebrows. Effing guy thinks he's next draft pick for the NHL. So for his last attempt to owe the waitress he says the bill is together and proceeds to take the machine, put a 40% tip and pass it on to the left where T pays with his card. I looked at the bill and it was nearly $400. Couldn't stop bragging about how much cash he made but couldn't even carry his weight. FUJ.
Wait, hold the phone, he added a huge tip and then passed it off for someone else to pay? Dar fuq? Grabbed a girl who cowered away, and raised his hand at her. The whole situation was indicative that it wasn't the first time someone I thought of as family, abusing someone in my bar. Saw it on the cameras and ran out to the porch to kick him out. Outwardly lied about cheating. I had evidence, everything, and as soon as he didn't own up to it I woke up and had an exit plan from his abusive ass.
Went on a double date with my girlfriend's friend and his S.O. His S.O. was very pleasant, but every story someone told, he always had a more extreme version of the story. Just always tried to one-up everyone. To this day he keeps trying to get us to double date again, and my girlfriend and I both agree we can't stand double dates with him anymore. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. I feel I should add some context though. Also changed a little phrasing. I know there are some people who do this to try to make a connection, and those people I can understand 100%. Conversation hijackers I can actually enjoy because at least their stories come across as truthful and that they want to just compare and find common things. The guy we were double dating with kept telling stories that seemed as if they were lies or altered to make himself seem bigger, or as someone in the comments mentioned, dominant, over everyone.
This type of person is called a Levenerife in the UK. Tell them about your beautiful holiday in Tenerife. That's nothing, we went to a Levenerife.
Oh Lord, allow me to tell you the story of my old school bully, Jacob. Jacob was AFing. Stole my lunch, insulted me constantly behind my back, talked poo about my own friends to me, stole my school supplies, and to top it off was a pathological liar to an enormous degree. I had the last laugh though, as one day he started poo-talking me to an 8th grade, except that 8th grader was no normal 8th grader, that 8th grader was my older brother, who promptly shoved him against the locker, gave him one good hard punch in the face, and told him if he ever caught him talking poo about me again he would knock his teeth out. To this day I still respect my brother highly for standing up for me and love him dearly.
Some of this poo is dark. I was just gonna talk about the guy who dabbed for no effing reason while we were having lunch.
Haha, thanks. I came to the thread looking for this sort of poo in case there's people out there who might hate me for some random poo I did. I haven't smacked a 2-year-old or smoked meth in front of a baby, or kicked a cat, so I'm pretty much perfect I guess.
They shot my dog. Last Friday, I was away from home, with my mum watching the place. She called and told me I needed to get home quickly, as my dog was hurt really bad. He bled out while she was trying to get him to the vet. It was an awful scene. I had to do a necropsy to figure out what happened. Near as I can figure, a poacher shot him while he patrolled the neighbor's field. Neighbor is an absentee landowner who runs cattle on that place. I don't know who it was, but I know that I hate them with every fiber of my being. I already hated poachers. I hate this one in a way that should frighten them very much.
I was obsessed with Lord Byron for all of 1 week in high school. Then I found out he got custody of his daughter from her mother. Got bored with her, pawned her off on the servants and refused to allow her mother to see her despite the poor woman writing countless letters begging. He eventually sent her off to a convent where she grew ill and died at the age of 5. She cried out for her father on her deathbed, but he never came. She died feeling abandoned and unloved. The only person who visited her was Byron's friend Percy Shelley. Yeah, it was 200 years ago, but that guy. Edit ****. Also, the documentary we watched about him in class mentioned how Byron was so upset, when his mother passed, he went on a violent seduction spree that included forcing himself on multiple maids. There's another word for that, you know. But mainly it was the daughter thing that broke my heart.
Stealing my damned broccoli casserole recipe and claiming it was theirs. That thin-lipped bitch still doesn't own up to it. Since everyone is asking for it, and quite frankly a big F you to Caroline. 1 stick salted butter. 1/3 of a pound Velveeta. Broccoli. Ritz crackers, crushed. 1 teaspoon MSG. 1. Cook broccoli until almost done. 2. Melt butter and Velveeta together and mix it up. 2.5. Add MSG. 3. Layer crackers, broccoli and cheese mixture, with a layer of crackers on top. 4. Put in preheated oven at 350 degrees until bubbling and browned. U. Puffer overflow smile with horns. Smile with horns.
You not talkin' ABOITMYBFRIEND Carolyn Shia CHRIETSN lady.
Saw someone kick a dog once. Who kicks a dog? Edit. I understand that if it's a self-defense situation, it's a different story. The guy the first saw casually kicked a stray dog as he walked by. Totally unprovoked.
Didn't take their dog to the vet. Dog ended up getting parvo and died. I do not like animal abusers at all.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.